I just finished my first pack rafting trip, and this is all the gear that I brought with me in order to camp overnight and then be prepared to paddle down a river that could contain whitewater. All of my gear, including my pack rafting gear, my camping gear, as well as my food and water, weighed 40 pounds. So let's unpack it and I'll let you know what I brought with me as well as what worked and what didn't. Most of my pack rafting gear is on the outside of my pack because it's just a little bit too bulky to pack on the inside. I may have been able to fit the paddles, but that's about it. I did bring a life jacket and a helmet on this trip because I really didn't know what I was going to be encountering. For some pack rafting trips that are a little bit more mellow, you might be able to get away with an inflatable PFD and no helmet, but on this trip, I wanted to be as prepared as possible. And my life jacket is the Astral YTV. It's very lightweight, but very effective and leaves a lot of range of motion for paddling. The helmet's made by Whip and it's a whitewater certified helmet that only weighs 170 grams. You don't want to be banging it off of a ton of rocks over and over again. It's more of a just in case kind of helmet, but for a trip like this where I probably didn't need a helmet, but it was really nice to have, having one that weighs so little is really nice. For my paddles, I went with something that's very lightweight. It's the 4-piece Aquabound Whiskey carbon fiber paddle. This thing's very lightweight, but still very stiff and has a nice blade for paddling. The 4-piece is really nice because you can fit the entire paddle on the side of your pack and nothing's sticking out above or around the pack. And that was something I was really paying attention to on this trip, and it's why my pack raft is on the inside of my pack. I thought that I might be going over and under a lot of logs and deadfall, and I didn't want to be having things caught up or my pack raft getting punctured. I also have water bottles, just 1 liter plastic bottles with flip cap lids. My filter was the Catadine Be Free. I'm just retesting this. It filters water super fast. It's super convenient. While you're on the water, just scoop water into it and then filter water. And then I have my bear spray on that side as well. I also kept my rain jacket on the outside of my pack because the forecast did call for rain and it did end up raining. I used this and it was really nice to have in order to stay dry, stay warm. And then I wore it while I was paddling as well. It helped block some of the splashes that were coming up from my paddle and the river, and it kept me a little bit warm when I was out on the water. I'll get into the pack in a second here, but I did opt to bring the modular brain because I didn't realize that the pack did not come with hip belts, so I'm waiting on those to come in so that I can just keep stuff there instead of having to bring the brain. Normally, I like to leave a brain at home unless I'm doing something like winter camping. In here, I just have my ditties, which includes my power bank, toothbrush, stuff like that. I'm not gonna get into this. This is pretty typical stuff. Sunglasses, which I really like to have when I'm on the water. My inReach, which when I was hiking, I kept in the brain, but then when I was on the water, I had it in my PFD. It's really important to have your inReach on you, especially when you're on the water, when you're kayaking, pack rafting. If you dump out of your boat and you lose your boat, you don't want your inReach going with it. I also have my poop kit in here, just the usual stuff that I bring, sunscreen, and then some snacks that I didn't get around to eating. In the front pocket here, I kept a piece of the Packraft. This is the tubing that goes around the cockpit in order to allow you to wear a skirt with it. We'll get into that once we talk about the boat. This is the skirt that goes around that cockpit area in order to keep water from getting inside the boat. And I think that's everything that I kept here. Nope, a couple more items. So these are dry bags that you put inside of your boat, which doesn't make sense right now, but once we pull the boat out, I'll talk a little bit more about why the boat that I use on this trip is one of the most technologically advanced pack rafts that I've ever seen and where these dry bags come into play. But before we pull the pack raft out and get into what my camping gear that's on the inside of the pack was, let's talk a little bit more about this pack. This is the Seek Outside Divide 4800 version 2, and I wanted to pick this up because Seek Outside has a great reputation for making packs that carry weight really well and then make packs that have a ton of volume but still don't weigh a ton. This pack only weighs just over 1.3 kilograms on my scale, with a couple of the accessories taken off, like the brain and stuff like that. But then it has an amazing, gigantic hip belt on here, really solid aluminum frame, and that frame is really nice for pack rafting because you can split it into two in order to fit it inside of those dry bags to put inside your boat. The torso is also adjustable, so you can really dial in the fit and make sure it fits you really well, and it has load lifters on there as well. This pack did phenomenally on the trip. It carried 40 pounds, no problem. I like that I could access water bottles in the side pockets really easily, and it has a lot of little spots to use clips and stuff in order to strap stuff down, which is really nice when you're pack rafting. Not only is this potentially going to be my go-to pack rafting pack, but I'll also probably be using it when I'm going backpacking with my daughter because I'm going to be carrying a lot of extra weight, and it might even become my go-to winter camping pack. The Packraft is the Alpaca Refuge. It weighs just over 6 pounds, which is insane, and then rolls up really small and can fit inside of my pack. Even though the raft doesn't weigh a lot and is very compact, it's fully featured. You could take this down Class 2 rapids, no problem, and I've done that. I've been playing around with it at the Whitewater Park outside Calgary, and I think it could even handle Class 3 if you're a more experienced paddler. whitewater. The reason it's able to handle more advanced whitewater is because of the outfitting that's inside of here. I already mentioned that you have the skirt system, so you put that plastic tubing around the cockpit and you can put a skirt on it or to keep water out of it, but it also has a back band, a seat, a footrest, and then thigh straps. The thigh straps allow you to really maneuver and shift your weight around with the boat in order to control it as you're going down rapids. One of the coolest things with this Packraft is something that you guys might have never seen before. You might be familiar with Packrafts where when you're trying to go down the river, you strap your pack to the front of your boat in order to store it. With these new Packrafts that are out now, there's a zipper, waterproof zipper in the back of the boat. So you load up all of your gear into those 2 dry bags I talked about, and then you stuff the hose into the boat, and then you zip up the zipper, and you're good to go with all of your gear stored inside the boat. Having your gear stored inside the boat means that your center of gravity is a lot lower, so the boat handles a lot better, and you don't have this giant heavy thing on the front of your boat, which is also going to affect maneuverability, but also not be kind of the safest if you're going to be getting into some more advanced whitewater. This boat has been blowing me away with my testing at the whitewater park and then on this trip, and I'm really excited to take it out on some more advanced whitewater. I also brought a bow bag on this trip, which is a bag that straps to the front of your boat in order to access items that you might need throughout the day, because like I said, all of your gear is inside of the boat. So if you need sunscreen or an extra layer, then you want to be keeping it inside this bow bag. It has a mesh bottom so it drains water out, but you can get a dry bag that you put inside of it, and that's where you can store things like your phone, snacks, basically anything that you want to keep dry. For the trip that I was just on, I wasn't paddling for a long period of time, and there wasn't really intense whitewater anywhere, so I probably could have gotten by without the bow bag and just kept my water bottle inside of my boat with me. But for trips where you're paddling for a long period of time every day, then this is great to have. I tested out a new tent for me on this trip. It was the X-Mid 2 version 3. It uses the new 15 denier silicone coated polyester, and it handled the rain on the trip really well. It didn't sag, didn't stretch, and none of the rain really absorbed into the tent at all. And it's still just as good as the old X-Mid as far as roominess, features. One of my favorite tents of all time. I did bring a chair on this trip, and I really liked it because I was camping up at a beautiful lake that would be actually really nice to bring a boat out and kind of maybe do some fishing, exploring. So it was nice just to sit on the shoreline with the chair and relax, eat dinner, that kind of thing. I also brought some camp booties with me, completely unnecessary, very bulky, overkill. I think on packrafting trips in the future, I'm gonna be paying a little bit more attention to weight and bulk so I can fit more gear inside of my pack. But on this trip, I brought everything in the kitchen sink because I wanted to bring as much as possible for both packrafting and camping so that I can then see what I needed, see what I didn't need, and then pare things down for future trips. I have my food bag in here, one of the best food bags that I've ever used, made by Devin over at Backcountry Exposure. I have my pot in here, which is just the petrol pot and the Green Peak stove, and my pink titanium spoon, which I think I could have used as a paddle if my paddle broke on this trip. It's just a really, really good all-around spoon that can do a lot of things. For my clothing, I definitely brought too much. I brought full Alpha Direct base layers and then fleece top and bottom, and then a down jacket. I probably could have gotten away with just the down jacket and the Alpha Direct layers, but it got down to -5°C last night, so got a little bit cold, and it was nice to have a little bit of buffer just in case. For the sleeping pad, I was testing out another new product, the Nortent Torv 7 sleeping pad. It has an advertised R value of 7, and I really wanted to put that to the test on this trip, as well as the comfort. And it handled the -5°C temperature and cold ground really well. And I'm excited to take it down into -10, -15, maybe even lower temperatures and see how it does. For comfort, the pad has a 3D construction, which is really nice. It's quite thick, and then uses a dimpled vertical baffle system. And I found it quite comfortable. Not the most comfortable pad that I've ever used, but if it can be warm down to -20, -25, then it'd probably be the most comfortable pad that I've ever used at those temperatures. For my pillow, again, a little bit overkill. It's the X-Bed Mega Pillow. On future trips, I definitely bring something less bulky and less heavy, but really nice to have a super comfortable pillow on this trip. And then my top insulation was the Nev Weartalk quilt. This quilt is really nice. It has a comfort rating of -2°C, but limit rating of -7, and I was toasty warm with this down to -5. It has a lot of features that allow it to keep you warm effectively. So there's a couple baffles that extend down below where the clips clip into the pad strap, and that allows it to really seal to the sleeping pad nicely. And then it has a full draft tube around the neck and neck cinch, so you're not really getting drafts through any point of this quilt. That was a really fun trip, and I definitely learned a lot about packrafting gear. I think from a packrafting gear standpoint, I really liked everything that I brought with me. I'd probably change up some of my camping gear because it really is a lot to be carrying 40 pounds for really any amount of distance. So I'd definitely pare things down a bit and then maybe open up some space inside my pack for storing some additional gear inside there. But I'm really excited to keep testing the Alpaca Refuge boat as well as the other Alpaca I have on the way, and then potentially do some fast packing pack rafting trips with the 1 pound boat that I have coming, because I also have an ultralight paddle and an inflatable PFD to go with it. So I could potentially have a 10 pound base weight with pack rafting gear, which is kind of insane. In order to do that, I'll probably have to be going super ultralight. So if you want to see my super ultralight gear list, then go check out this video right up here. It has a base weight of under 5 pounds, around 5 pounds, and includes some really cool gear.